What's good, beautiful soul? What's good, beautiful family, beautiful souls? Not just one. Because it is all of you that are beautiful and all of you that have a limitless soul. And I feel like sometimes tapping into that limitless, tapping into your true power takes simplicity, takes silence, takes pausing. As I just got done watching a podcast with the dude that does Gene Keys. You can look him up. I forgot his name. But he had talked about this pausing, and I really think pausing is an important part, as that is something on my journey, especially right now, especially during my fast, is when I have to stop rushing, stop trying to think about the future, especially when my next meal may come. And you know what I'm saying? I've been doing some fruit fast. I'm doing a fruit fast today actually, but just eating apples. And it's giving me it's giving me that balance, as not trying to get my ego involved. Because when doing these practices, when challenging yourself, sometimes your ego can get in the way. As I've said in my past videos, it's good to have a cheat day. I think it is good to have a cheat day at least once a week, once a month even. And you know what I'm saying, whenever you feel like it's best. It is just not, it is just good to have that balance, because sometimes we can be too hard on ourselves. But discipline is also key. Having that discipline, having them times where you can face the challenges, having them times where you can have that willpower, and setting yourself up with practices that challenge your mental, cold baths, just practices such as pausing that helps you just pause and really let everything that comes up, that needs to come up. And in them pause moments, I feel like that is what it is doing, as well as is allowing our shadows to reveal itself, is allowing us to accept and surrender, as that is what we need to do when we are dealing with our shadows, or dealing with past trauma, or some problems that we may be having at that moment, or thoughts, negative thoughts that are coming up. As when we accept and surrender and just love them and accept them and know that we ultimately are the co-creators of our reality, it helps us still be grounded into the awareness that yes, we are accountable, we are human in a human body in the end of the day. But knowing that separation between your soul and your body is also good, or your spirit, because then you ultimately know you're not just this body, and we are not just this body, but we had came into this body to experience, to eat some candy here and there, to, because everything, another thing is, y'all, a lot of things, the government's done poisoned the air. It's done poisoned a lot of food. I mean, the more I'm getting on my journey, I eat healthy, trust me. And I drink a lot of water. And even the water, half the water is poisoned. And a lot of us, with the circumstances that we are in now, especially growing up, we don't really have availability to just straight clean systems, straight. There's even systems where you can clean the air in your house. But at the end of the day, you're still walking outside. There's still pollution. There's still toxins in almost everyday environment. So we cannot avoid them completely. But yes, taking measurements and having that balance. Because again, I really think balance is critical in all this. When you know that, you know what I'm saying, okay, I shouldn't be eating these sweets every day. I shouldn't be indulging in, you know what I'm saying, indulging in just relaxing every day. But it is good to relax every day, don't get me wrong. But too much of relaxing, just like too much of hard discipline, is bad. Too much of something good can become bad. And that's why we have the balance. The balance, yin and yang. Great example. And when we are not hard on ourselves, it ultimately helps us surrender. Helps us surrender to the ego, because the ego can be so tricky at times. The ego is definitely helpful, and we work with the ego, but it is working with the ego. It's like having a dog on the leash. And a lot of spiritual people, especially real ones, especially authentic spiritualists, know that the ego is to be trained. The ego is to work with, not to get rid of. And I've said this in my other videos as well. If y'all haven't checked out my ego video, go check it out. But yeah, the ego is to be worked with, and sometimes the ego can come into play when it comes to disciplines and just relaxing too much, or lacking, sometimes too much, lacking in your actions or something. It can come into both places as, oh, you're not doing enough, and sometimes you're doing more than enough. And it is great to take them pause moments so that we can recognize, be aware of the ego, be aware of the balance that we are creating in our day-to-day life. Because ultimately, when we are aware of the balance that we are creating, of the balance between our relationships, between our day-to-day life, what we are doing, we are ultimately examining and being aware of how to balance even more, or put into place, or know when to just change things up. As we are human, we are like nature, and nature is constantly evolving. Nature is also taking pauses. And when we learn more about nature, when we learn more about ourselves, we know that this is ultimately what helps us be more aware, gain more awareness, and honestly just be more in ourselves. And when being more in ourselves and being more in our authenticity, we are expressing ourselves even more, and that is what helps us express ourselves. And in doing that, we are able to open the doors and possibilities to many ways that we can perfect our crafts in whatever we may be doing, businesses, whatever you love doing, into ultimately serving others. And that energy, like I've said before in almost every one of my videos, it's just going to reciprocate and serve you as well. Not that that is the whole purpose why we are doing it, but we should be doing it out of a place of love, out of love of the thing that we are doing, and love of the service that it is bringing others. And yeah, just finding that passion and balancing your passion with even time with yourself. That's another balance. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that we are balancing, and life is really just all relationships. So when you find the balance between the relationships, just like if you're in a relationship with someone, I give this analogy. When you're in a relationship with someone, sometimes being with someone every single day, sometimes being with someone all the time, it gets aggravating, or not even aggravating. It's good to work through them times, but it gets to where, okay, well, we need to explore, you know what I'm saying? We need to do things together. And sometimes, and what is healthy in relationships is go out with your girlfriends and have a good time, because it ultimately builds that trust, it builds that communication as well. And then we go out with our friends, the men go out with their friends, and whatever. It is like that, having balance with everything. And in them paused moments, we ultimately get to be aware of, okay, what are we may be unbalanced with, or what may our ego might be playing a little bit too much in. And we are able to, again, open them possibilities up of changing them, of reframing them. And yeah, that's a lot to do with pausing, is finding the balance between a lot of the relationships, with your craft, with your practices, with your whatever you may be doing. And yeah, it is having the moments of pause, whether that is giving yourself a little bit extra time in the morning, as I know we have sometimes busy schedules, or giving yourself a little bit more time at night. And they don't have to be long. Again, that's where ego can come into play. Again, my ego has came into play where it has to be at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even 8 minutes. But sometimes it can just be 5 minutes, when we just give ourselves the time to really just sit down and pause, and give ourselves the time, give our mind, let everything come up, let the thoughts be. Yeah, let the thoughts come up, let the negative ones come up, and just surrender and accept what the mind is trying to do. But knowing that we are separate from the body, ultimately, we know that not all thoughts are ours. And the ones that we give our energy to, that we give our attention to, really start to manifest into our reality, and really are the ones that stick with us, I personally think. As when we let a lot of these thoughts, especially negative ones, just flow through us, we allow them to be let go. We allow not to fight them, because ultimately when we fight a problem, we are just making the problem worse. So the more you resist, the more it persists. And letting them thoughts flow, letting them negative thoughts especially flow, you are able to overthink about the good. And I saw this quote, you're able to just think about the good and not even think of nothing. At the times when we are paused, it is good to just be in the present moment, not think about nothing. Because that brings me to two quotes. But if you take out the past, you take out the future. Right now, try to find imperfections. There is no imperfections right now. You are who you are right now. When you take out the past, thinking about the past, when you take out thinking about the future, and you just think right now, you ultimately are perfect right now. You ultimately are right where you need to be. Whether if you might be in that hard circumstance or not right now, it is where you need to be, and it is the lessons that are and the gifts that are need to be gained and learned at that moment. So when we reframe our story, when we change the perspective, we change our outer reality. As everything is vibration, everything is frequency, and we are made of 70% water. Again, I made a video about frequency and vibration. Make sure y'all check that out. But when you know all this, it correlates to ultimately you creating your reality moment by moment, thought, what you say, especially thought by thought, because what we say turns into gold. Because when we think of something, when we express something, that is why we should talk about our dreams. That's why we should say our dreams, because growing up, ultimately a lot of people is like, oh yeah, you talking about it so much. Well, it is good to talk about it, but also put action to it, because when we do both, it combines and it amplifies that energy even more. And another quote I want to think, if you can overthink, this is the quote, if you can overthink about the bad, why not overthink about the good? And that is an amazing quote. I saw that on my Instagram by this dude, I forgot his name, but he used to be a model, and he's spiritual with the lady. I think she's pregnant right now, but yeah, great dude. Julius, I think his name is. But yeah, great quote. Found that on Instagram. Saw that on Instagram, and it makes so much sense. So give yourself them times to pause. Give yourself that time to integrate what you truly desire and your passions and the actions that you may need to take throughout the day, or you may desire to take throughout the day, that's going to benefit you and just grow your craft and grow your energy in more positive and more loving ways. I love y'all, and I see you. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to come back at y'all with another one.